Hey Marco,
Yeah.
you got a couple of minutes?
For what? Depends.
I was just thinking it's 2025 and we haven't filmed a video in like a year.
It's been a long time, hasn't it? It's certainly been a while.
So,
Yep.
want to do this?
Go on.
We're back! Guys, 2024 was, one year and a half, let's say. We've missed you. I'm sure you've missed us. We've had tons of comments and questions saying, when are you guys going to post a new video? And well, this is it. Marco, what you got to say about 2024?
I think if anything, it's just been a roller coaster, but glad to be out on the other side and yeah, ready to give you an update on exactly what's going on right now.
We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do 21 questions. So 21 questions for Marco about 2024 and his reflections on this epic year. What did he learn? What did he gain? And in the next video, we'll do my 21 questions. So I am interviewing Marco today about what 2024 was like. Stay tuned. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. 2024 is the hot topic.
Yeah.
If your life was a book, what would the title be?
I think this is the book, and it simply says, "A man is what he thinks about all day long."
You're prepared.
That will be the title of the book.
Okay.
Because that is a book that I actually used in 2024. So this is my 2024 journal. And it's got all of my thoughts that I thought about all day long. It pretty much encapsulates who I am as a person.
Nice.
And I think the best part about this book is at the end of it, you've got all of the victories and the testimonies of 2024. So if you want to find out more, yeah, definitely ask some questions and I'll give you a recap for some of these.
What was the biggest plot twist of your 2024?
Plot twist. Oh, I think if anything, it was coming back to the UK. If there was an opportunity and a way that we could stay at the place where we went to holiday, which was the Cayman Islands, that would have been the plot twist, the ideal plot twist. But I think the normal plot twist was just coming back to normal life and trying to make it somewhat different and to have a richer experience in terms of relationships and, purpose that we have for life.
So there was a major plot twist that kind of happened at the end of 2024 with your career. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anything, I've been in my job for about 2 years, working as a management consultant for a big firm in London. And it just got to a point where actually the meaning was different and I was searching for more. I was working for a big organisation, but I think somebody once asked the question, do you see yourself as a weed or an orchid, in the sense that a weed can just about grow anywhere, thrive any conditions under whatever circumstances, or are you an orchid which requires, specific sort of nourishment, specific environments for it to actually grow? And I realised, if anything, I'm an orchid. I like my boutique spaces where there's not too many people, the culture's rich, and if anything, the work has probably been more meaningful. So I've moved on to a new role, still as a management consultant, but working for a startup that is doing some extraordinary things and work with some remarkable people.
Great. So you've changed jobs. Awesome. So if we could think about one conversation that you had last year that you could relive, which one would it be and why?
I mean, can you see this journal? That's all the conversations I had last year. One conversation that I had, which helped me position myself very differently, and it was all to do with the ministry and how I would position myself so that I'll be able to add more value and support the cause, the church that I'm involved with, and how they help people. And I think that conversation was pivotal because it just helped me really see things for what they were. I mean, I can't really go into all the detail. I think one of the learnings from there, which I can share, is that, I learned that actually, and I knew this already, but it was just nice hearing it from somebody else, where it's like, in every organization or in every establishment, there are specific roles. And sometimes you might play a specific role that is on the low end, but think you have all the great ideas and you should be able to, influence or impact on some of the decisions that are made. And so I, being very creative and always coming up with all sorts of new ideas and things, sometimes I got carried away with the idea of actually my idea, should have greater importance, and so that should be the thing that should be taken and considered. But if anything, that conversation that I had just helped me reframe that actually, if somebody's asking you for something specific, don't come up with all the the bells and whistles and all the extra stuff to kind of make it all glitz and glamorous. Just give them exactly what they want. So if somebody asks you for a cake, and you've got ideas for a red velvet cake, that's the expression I always use, but all they want, simply rock cakes. So I will now make them the best version of rock cakes that they've ever tasted.
There you go.
And that's what the conversation was about.
And that's really difficult sometimes when you're a creative, when you've got all these ideas, knowing that sometimes it's not the season for that idea.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that your idea is a bad idea. It just might not be the right fit for that moment. So that's really awesome. Thank you for that. What is something you did in 2024 that the past you would never have expected?
2024. So when I think back to some of the stuff that happened in 2024, I think just obviously you said Cayman Islands, we'd gone away and we were, had time to reflect and look over our lives and think, what are we going to do going forward? And so I think the past me would have acted impulsively on some of the reflections that I'd had. So we were talking about, should we just move country and just go to a different place and just, live a completely different life? But yeah, the past me wouldn't have considered all of those things. We've just done it. But then I found myself
in New Zealand right now.
Yeah, but I found myself in a position where I was actually like, what's the purpose here? How is it that we are adding value to other people? How are we pouring into other people's lives? And then, we're just going to uproot ourselves and go somewhere different. And
so that was a thing. I mean, there was a job that you were offered in Hamilton, New Zealand, I think it was.
I wasn't offered, but there was potential. There was opportunity.
There was an opportunity. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, let's go for it. And then it was like, okay, let's be grown-ups. Let's consider everything and everything else, everything and everyone else. And yeah, that was a really interesting moment.
So that shift of actually moving away from being impulsive to being more proactive in terms of thinking about a long-term way of thinking about things. Yeah, that's definitely a shift.
So if you had to explain 2024 in one sentence, Mark, can you do it? One sentence, just one, please. What would it be?
The perils of becoming.
I feel like that's the title of your book. But no, that's a good one. So the perils of becoming in 2024.
Definitely.
Okay, what was the most unexpected lesson that life taught you last year?
Oh man, there's one specific lesson that I learned that is so vividly memorable at the moment. So I have taken many courses over the past year, many qualifications, and I've always been the sort of person who's always aced all of my qualifications. But
we're not showing off
last year I took this one particular examination and I thought, do you know what, this is going to be a walk in the park. I've done this before many a times. And if anything, let me just get ready to celebrate and add one to the bag, another one to the bag. Lo and behold, when I took this examination, I finished and it was an online portal, so it closed up and then it came up with the result and it said failed.
Ding, ding, ding.
And that was the first time in many years that I had ever experienced that emotion. I think I was stunned for a moment. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be feeling. And then I felt so overwhelmed. I had this emotion just like, actually, I can't believe I failed at something. What? I failed. So yeah, that experience, I think that helped me just sort of stop and reflect and think, you're not going to be good at everything. And it's not everything that you do that's always going to be a success. And it's not every time that you take on something that it's going to come out right.
And also that was like a moment for you to go like, why am I continuously doing all these courses? I mean, if you look at my CV, it's got courses after courses after courses. And it's like, to what end? Oh, to what end? Yeah. Like, okay, great, it's another qualification, but to what end? What are you becoming? Going back to your kind of sentence for the year. And then there was also the uni course as well.
Oh yeah, that was also quite jarring in some ways. So most of you know I was trained to become a systemic therapist, which I'm still en route. So, took on the program for a whole year. This was the intermediate level. And so at the end of the course, I was hoping to just pass because I'd done all the placement sort of stuff. Only when I got to the stage of going through my what are they called, reflective journals?
No, you were doing your
the logs, something logs, reflective logs.
Was your sessions, your clinical sessions? With
Clinical
your
sessions,
therapists?
yeah. And my practice educator, is that what you call them? Said these are inadequate and that they don't meet the criteria. And that I wasn't even practicing systemically, and so I thought, whoa.
But I think like that wasn't just your fault. I feel
No.
without naming and shaming the place that you're studying, I feel like there was no hand holding. There was no. It was like you go off, find your own placement, create your own placement or whatever it is, and then come back to us. And really, when you're learning, like having trained as a social work and having had my hand held throughout the entire process, I feel like that isn't actually a positive way of doing things. They really should be helping you to find an appropriate placement that will then meet all of your learning outcomes and that kind of stuff. So now we're kind of back on the drawing board to finding that placement that will meet those learning outcomes, and then you can then, by God's grace, pass this intermediate level in 2025. That's what we're hoping for. Right. If 2024, so you're a musician, if 2024 had a soundtrack, which song would be the main theme?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the soundtrack I got in mind is was my favourite track at the time, which was Tobechuku. Gaga Tobechuku said Tobechuku said he has done it for me. Something like that.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
That is a great song. So what's the one person or thing or experience that completely changed your perspective last year?
But definitely the conversation with Trevor, for me, completely changed my thinking.
Who's Trevor?
Trevor is a good friend of mine who's based in the States. Don't ask me where exactly. I know it's
Jeffersonville
somewhere close to Jeffersonville. But he's been a good, I think, friend, mentor all sorts, in helping me just kind of get over stuff. And so whenever I feel like having a conversation about something, I definitely speak to him. And again, Bernie's another one, but definitely the conversation with Trevor.
Conversations with him, just kind of like changing your perspective and like giving you an alternative worldview.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, and Trevor, I know you don't know this yet by the time you see this video, but we're going to have you on the show this year. That is one of the 2025 goals that we have, but we're not going to talk about 2025 yet. We're still talking about 2024. Yeah. Okay, so next question, Mark. So if you were going to go back and warn yourself, right, now knowing everything you know about 2024, what would your warning be? Like, what would you be saying to yourself?
So I would be saying, don't be afraid to make the decisions you need to make, regardless of how they will impact other people. So I'm thinking about sometimes as a leader, I've had to somewhat, I don't know, sometimes you have to make compromises, right? Because you think about the whole team and you're thinking about how this affects so-and-so, and, you know, so actually maybe let's not do that because so-and-so would be affected. But actually sometimes I think it's about making those hard decisions. And so I've arrived at the place where I'm like, sometimes it's important for me just to kind of go,
that's what we need to do.
This is where we're going.
And not think about like everybody else and their cousin. And
yeah, absolutely.
And that's hard to do, especially when you're an empath and like, you know, you care about people. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one of the things I learned too. What is a habit or a mindset from 2024 that made the biggest difference in your life?
So the biggest difference was me taking the time to actually wake up in the early hours of the morning to pray. To gather my thoughts, present all of my concerns, my plans, my hopes and dreams before the Lord. Because there is that scripture that says, commit thy ways or thy thoughts. Actually, there's one that says thoughts and another that says ways before the Lord. And one, he'll establish thy pathways and also he'll bring them to pass. Yes. So doing that habit of waking up and actually presenting everything before the Lord has actually given me a lot of clarity. And sometimes I'm able to see things differently, and God actually does speak either through his word or even as I'm praying, and give me clarity on what direction to take or how to position myself in a specific conversation. Yeah,
I've seen a significant change in you, and also like when I raise something with you, you tend to pray about it and then come back to me with an answer. That's something I think I saw it in a movie or something, which like if you disagree with your husband, like if he's a praying man, like ask him to pray about it. I don't think I saw that somewhere, and I was like, okay, now I'm seeing it. Like,
but I think it's interesting when you go, I think you need to pray about this. It sounds a bit,
I think you need to pray
I was going to say condescending, but yeah.
Well, it's like, I think you need to talk to your father about this, the one upstairs.
True. I hear that.
It's made some differences to our marriage, so I
has.
definitely agree with that. That's a good habit. What moment in 2024 felt like something straight out of a movie? Like, blew you away?
One? Come on, I've got 1,000 moments. I think the best thing for me is being able to spend precious time with the people I love and care about. So, for example, spending time with my children, spending time with you. There's been moments where I've just been like, wow, this is magical. And if anything, I think you're probably going to ask me this later, but there's something around just being in the moment and being grateful, being content in every state. And so I've had, numerous accounts of that.
What about your birthday?
That's what I mean. So even my birthday in 2024, that was just like out of this world. Just the way that everybody that I've built relationships with over the years came through on that day and surprised me in that hotel, which was just like gorgeous.
So we collectively, and you involved too, some of you watching, we collectively surprised Mark. We actually surprised him!
I thought I was going to a charity gig. And
maybe we should do a video on how we managed to surprise Mark. That was hilarious, but he knew nothing. And this was his reaction. We're, I think, over halfway. If you could write a letter to yourself on the 1st of January 2024, what's the first thing you'd say?
I think it would say something to the tune of, what on earth are you doing in the UK?
I don't know! Can we ask ourselves that question? Like, can we take a minute?
Yeah, this is after we went abroad and, for example, over winter, the UK just becomes grey. The trees lose all their leaves and the clouds are constantly overcast. And we were coming back from the Cayman Islands where it was just green. Everything was just so
like
colourful.
Like everything was like that plant in the background.
Yeah.
It was like you looked outside and it was just like,
just full of colour. And then over
just
here,
looking outside, just like
dreary. Over here,
just
morbid.
Oh my
God. It would say, what are you doing in the UK?
Yeah, that's another question for another video. I feel like we could do a whole video on that.
Yeah.
So what was the time in 2024 where you felt truly alive? I guess it kind of similar answer.
Yeah, similar answer, because 2024, the first part of it, we were still in Cayman Islands. So definitely Cayman Islands, because on a holiday, I wasn't working at the time, just on a holiday with the family, just enjoying the best of life. Can we have some Cayman Islands
pictures, please?
Yeah, so.
That was awesome. Okay, what's something you chased after in 2024 that ended up not being worth it? So something you put some energy into, and then in the end, it just wasn't worth it.
I'm thinking about, I suppose, ministry, church.
Oh, interesting.
And,
okay. Tell me more, Mark. Church wasn't worth it? Ooh.
No, not that.
Controversial.
No, I think one of the things I'm working on at the church is building the bands that we've got. And if anything, I tried really hard to bring it to life, but it just didn't materialise. Okay. In the way that I wanted it to. And so...
So that you feel like the hours that you spent weren't worth it?
Well, I put together a whole vision, a whole strategy, a whole plan, and I guess some of the reinforcing activities didn't really materialise. So it just never materialised in the way that I envisioned it. So,
So it wasn't anything to do with God necessarily. It was
no.
Kind of like some of the programs you were trying to implement that kind of, you spent a lot of energy and it didn't just...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that happens sometimes. That's hard. I feel you. I am with you in the struggle. Okay, right. If you had to sum up your entire year in just 3 emotions, what would they be?
Whoa! Phew! Wow! I think those are emotions I definitely go for.
Okay, so like, whoa, woo, wow! Like roller coaster, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
What's something that felt like a failure at the time, but then it turned out to be a blessing?
That's a really good one. Parenting. Sometimes.
Oh my gosh, guys! 2024 was like a parenting smack in the face.
I mean, why I say that, because we've read so many books around parenting. I mean, I know that for a fact. I've read so many books around parenting and listened to so many podcasts and audibles and stuff. But then in the moment, sometimes it just doesn't fall in the right place.
Doesn't pan out as you wanted it.
Yeah, so just felt like, actually, why are we doing this?
And when your kid isn't the dream kid that you thought they could be. To be fair,
No,
no, our kids are
they are-
amazing.
they
They're
are the dream
awesome.
kids. No,
But when you
absolutely.
go through trials that you never expected to go through as a parent, and you're just like, ah!
Yeah.
We will talk more about that. Don't worry, guys. It's coming, 2025. Lawrence, I hear you. 2025. Who was your biggest teacher in 2024, and what did they teach you?
My dad. I've learned a great deal, especially around ministry and just how to be in life.
Okay.
Around ministry, it's more to do with how I position myself, how I approach the whole thing around ministry. Mostly to do with how, you know, we everything we preach within our church is all based around the message that came through the prophet whom we believe. And so when it comes to preaching, I remember when I was younger, I used to think, "Do you know, because I listened to a lot of motivational stuff, you know, like the Les Browns, the Brian Tracys, and all sorts of different, you know, motivational speakers. I was like, actually, I can preach, you know, put me on stage. But now I've got to a place where through my dad and the coaching that I've had, that he's taught me that actually everything that we talk about has to be rooted and grounded actually in what our prophet taught. And if anything, you find the same theme with Moses and Joshua, where Joshua was told, actually, see that you do all the law and don't, you know, waver to the left nor to the right, just do exactly what you've been told. And then you find Joshua, as he's dying, he does exactly the same thing. He says to the children of Israel, make sure you listen to the law that was given by Moses. And so that was a great lesson.
That's really rich, because I mean, the thing is, you can do like motivational preaching, right?
Yeah.
And that'll be good in the moment, and everyone will jump up and be like, oh my gosh, so inspiring. And then like a week later, it has no effect. But then like you actually preaching the solid, you know, word of God, which comes from the prophet, like that has lasting effects on people. Like people might not be shouting and jumping up and down in your sermon, but actually afterwards they're like, ooh, that went there,
and I love
that changed me.
It really does help you become positionally placed.
Yeah,
and that's a key thing for us, where we talk about everybody knowing what their role is and how it is that they're supposed to serve.
Yeah, that's it.
And what they are doing.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a whole nother topic. Like ministry isn't about being a celebrity or being on the stage and it's like, wow, I'm doing this big thing. It's really not that. It's about serving God's people and whoever God has given you to serve. So if your future self, so we're not talking about 2025 right now, your present self, but your future self, your 2026 self, could send you one message about 2024, what would they say?
I am proud of you.
Okay.
I am proud of you for who you are, how you've invested in yourself, relationships you have, your faith, your commitment to life, your commitment to the people that you care about, your commitment to the people that you serve, and also just actually thank you.
Nice. So we're down to the last 3 questions, people. What is the risk you took in 2024 that completely paid off?
I think the risk of actually committing to do all of the things that I said I was going to do. I mean, I didn't achieve all of them, but the fact of having actually ticked off some of that stuff, so that level of commitment, I think has definitely paid dividends nowadays.
What was the most powerful realization you had last year? Wow.
I laugh because, you know, I can't do everything.
Oh, finally. It's taken him how long?
Yeah, I can't do everything. But also, I am grateful. And I said this earlier, but I am content in the state that I'm in. Yes, I've got aspirations. Yes, I've got dreams. I've got ambitions, but if anything else, I am grateful for the moments that I get to enjoy.
I think, like, for me, I know it's your question, but actually, like, I feel like that powerful realization when you failed that course, we're kind of going back to your earlier question, and then you failed your placement, and then you had to write extenuating circumstances, and then I was like, hold on, Mark, like, there have been extenuating circumstances, like, I had lost my job at that time, and then, you know, you had, like, we'd lost some precious people to us. Like 2024 was just a year, as I said, that slapped us in the face a few times.
Whoa.
And when you then wrote it all down, it was like, oh, whoa, okay. And actually then when your lecturer read it, she was like, what? You've been going through all of this and you haven't said anything? Like, what is that about? And I feel like that was a powerful realization for yourself, to be like, oh, snap. Okay, I've just been kind of like doing the swan thing where I show up and I smile. It's like, hey, everyone, let's go. and underneath you're just like frantically swimming and trying to do life, even when life is.
I think that probably speaks to something around most actors would relate to, where it's like you're doing a show and there's so many things going wrong, but the audience should know.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the show must go on, not from to your detriment, but more on the kind of, you know, this role is important that I'm playing right now. And so the lights are not working, but I want to keep moving on. The person hasn't said their line. I'm going to keep doing what I need to do. That prop isn't where it should be, but I'm just going to go moving, or I'm just going to ignore it and do what I need to do.
But I feel like the realization was that you can't do that, and we aren't in a show.
And that's what I said, I can't do it all.
This is real life, okay? And it's like, if you need a minute to rest, or you need to talk about things that you're going through. I mean, just this week you've had that situation at work where things were going on. I'm not going to bleed into 2025's content, but things were going on at home with our children, and then you were trying to work and like pursue, and I was just like, dude, why are you not taking a day off? And you were like, no, I need to do this, I've got this meeting, and in the end it just crashed because your body was like, no, I can't do this. Your brain was like, like, we need to take a minute. So I feel like that's something that realization needs to just come into 2025, and you need to be kind to yourself a bit more. Like when we have a lot of stuff going on, you just need to be like, press pause, okay, intermission.
How could I not be a better person with all these lectures? Of course I'm going to be an incredible person. You know.
Who's lecturing who?
I wonder.
Come on. So this is the last question, guys, until we move on to my next video. So make sure you hit that up. If you could hold on to just one memory from 2024 forever, which one would it be?
Wow. So I wrote everything I celebrated last year at the back of this journal, as I said at the beginning. It's all there. It's hard, difficult to hold on to one. But I think if anything, last year was a significant year in that some of my family members were able to have some breakthroughs. And so it was celebrating those moments with them for the success they had finally seen.
Yes.
And so
that is so true.
I'll definitely hold on to that and cherish that. To actually see them thrive, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely hold on to that.
That's beautiful. So guys, we're back and we are so happy to have shared Marco's 2024 experience with you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below for any further videos you have picked out or plucked out from our content so far. And we're just happy to be back. If you haven't already, please
subscribe. And also, what conversations would you like to be having with us?
Yeah, exactly.
We would like to definitely explore those further.
Definitely. And if you want to also come on the show, because this year we're going to be interviewing other people, please do contact us and let us know.
Reach out.